turn the meeting over now to Bob Driggers. He's going to share with us some information that the CCC has put together.
Thank you, Doug. We're going to talk just a little bit about the strategic plan. Have any of you been to our website, ccc.center? Check it out. The entire strategic plan is on that website, and a lot of the things that we have found are very discouraging and shocking to some degree. And one of the things I think is worth mentioning in the way of item on the agenda, I think, says exposés, revelations, and suppositions. I'm going to start with the supposition because Alan touched on this. I don't think any of you believe that we had a water crisis or water shortage, because we didn't. It's simple. But we're getting ready to sell $110 million worth of bonds for water improvements, right? It's already been announced. If you go to the city's website, you'll see where it's all going. And it was pointed out to me recently, and I think it's worth repeating, that why do they want to do a $110 million bond issue in the city when we know we don't need $110 million? As a matter of fact, probably $5 million would easily take care of adding to the capacity to take the additional $10 million that are available at the current water treatment plant. So anyway, it was recommended that, and this is something governments do, you sell a bond issue where you're not going to use that money, that $100 million. We'll say you got $100 million left after you pay the bond daddies and the lawyers. What do you do with it? You put it in the bank because you don't need it immediately right now, right? You earn interest on it. Understand that there are things that can earn 4.5% that the city can avail themselves of. Well, think about that. That's $4 million a year right there that they can get. That's why we're calling this a supposition. Do you suppose that may be what our city's up to? $4 million a year that is not earmarked for anything? Just say. Okay. We have also talked about on here, you notice, improper use of funds, tax and water increases, illegal FOIA responses. We have had trouble, I think some of you have probably had problems getting proper responses to FOI requests, right? Hopefully we have help coming. Michelle, our prosecuting attorney, didn't mention this, but we have turned over a wealth of information to her office, and she is looking into it. You will recall we had 10 items that was at the bottom of our section on government in the strategic plan, and we are going to pursue all of those. And Doug will tell you a little later about exactly where we stand on the last couple. But I think it's worth pointing out, are all of you aware that we have gang problems in Hot Springs? We've had shootouts at Grand and Central, right? A couple of times. We've had shootouts over at 3rd and Hobson. As a matter of fact, Pastor Eric, I see, left early, but he lives right there. I think 40 shots were fired. The Bloods and the Crips. Now, if you talk to the police department, they'll tell you those are just wannabe gangs. But did you hear how many folks running for office? And by the way, don't you think we've got a good group of folks running for office? Fantastic group. I was certainly impressed. But anyway, the Bloods and the Crips are just wannabe gangs. They're not really gangs in Hot Springs. That's the word that we've been given. You know, there's 1.4 million active street gangs and prison gangs in the United States. I mean, that many people. And 33,000 gangs. 48% of all violent crimes in the United States, the government says, are committed by gang members. Okay? Have you heard of these folks? Would you recognize their signs? These are tattoos, and I'm just going to rush through these because it's not that important, but it's interesting, it's shocking what's going on with gangs nationwide. These are some of the symbols. And if you look at the graffiti, this is the graffiti you will see from the Bloods. They use the 5-pointed star, they use a pitchfork pointed down. Now the Crips use a pitchfork pointed up. If you look into the Crips, that's their little pitchfork emblem. And a lot of them do face tattoos. Joe, how are we going to rehabilitate those people? Who's going to hire these folks with these tattoos on their faces? That's the Crips. They're in Hot Springs. This is some of their graffiti. Have you heard about MS-13? Donald Trump likes to talk about them quite a bit, doesn't he? They are bad boys. And here, they're in all of these states that are shaded in pink. They're definitely in the ones, to a large extent, those that are bright red. MS-13, you see what that says? Why would Mr. Trump want to deport these dreamers? Rough-looking group. MS-13. Okay. Now here's one of the largest groups, the Latin Kings. Have any of you ever heard of them? This was a Puerto Rican gang that actually started in Chicago, but they've now spread out and they're in nearly every state in the Union. They have a website. Their graffiti they use a lot is a crown. Where's this graffiti located? The slide you're looking at are in Hot Springs. Recognize that building?
Hold on a second.
There's an MS-13 tag that I took a photo of yesterday. And we found out about some of this because some of the downtown local merchants were complaining that we're getting a lot of graffiti. Here's a downtown local merchant right here. Most of it has been whited over, especially all of that up at the old hotels. There's where I took that photo. You recognize that? This building is the Gangster Museum. What is this emblem? First time we've seen it in Hot Springs, folks. MS-13. Hot Springs, Arkansas. Okay, so enough for gangs. All I wanted to do is just get you scared. But be cognizant of that, and if you see this sort of thing, we definitely do need to get it covered up pretty quick because we don't want to encourage it. And the police tell me that they are putting in some covert cameras and hopefully they will catch some of these folks. Okay. This is the local story we're talking about that's going to get national attention. I think most of you know this gentleman. And do you recognize these names over here? Probably some of them. That fellow right there was interviewed by A&E Network, Arts and Entertainment, I think that stands for, right? They were here several days right after Valentine's Day. They rented the old Hemp Williams home and set up a little studio in there and interviewed some local folks, including our buddy here. And they're putting together a documentary that will be out in November, which also will put Hot Springs on the map. A few of the attorneys that are involved and are being talked to, I think they were also on their way to talk to some of these ladies. So it's probably a lot of a rehash of what you've all heard before, but nowadays, what is the saying, me too? This is the list. I'm sure you can't read it from there, but these folks are no longer with us. They were friends of the Clintons. Have you heard the latest one? Go to your internet, look up dailymail.com and see what all the flack is now. I never realized there's a penthouse on top of this museum in Little Rock. Did you guys know that? Apparently it's not being used properly. Read about it for yourself. Okay, so anyway, what are we doing? We're doing all of these things that we said we would do in the strategic plan. That's the end of the government section right here. And I'm going to let Doug go ahead and tell us about, I think all of you know what we're doing, and if any of you want to participate and help us in any of these endeavors that are shown here, let us know. We can sure use your help. Doug?
Well, it kind of gets you a little depressed seeing some of that up there, but we've got a great prosecuting attorney and staff. We've got a good police department, great sheriff's department, great servants in our public office, and with their help, I think we could probably put a stop to a lot of this stuff. You know, it's just one of those things, when you see something, say something. Get involved, be involved in the community. It's one thing to run for office, but it's another thing to take a public stand when you see some of this stuff take place. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see the strategic plan laid out and some of the things that are in the works. I'm not going to rehash a lot of that. I'm just going to tell you where we're at with some of it. One of those things was to get a petition drive together to separate the water from city control into a commission. We've got about, I'm going to say 1/3 of the signatures we need for that. We're still working on it. Have some time to get that all together, but if you'd like to help us with it, we can definitely use some folks to gather up signatures and put this before the people to separate the water from the city into a separate commission that's elected to where we might be able to have a little bit more control over that. The other thing is that, what was the other thing I had? Well, it just flew through my mind. change of the form of government. We are still working at that, looking at different avenues. One of those avenues is having a state audit done of the city, and not just for bookkeeping purposes, to find out where all our money is going and why. So that's still in the works. Has some folks in public office that are helping us with that as well. So we hope to give you more information on that when we get further down the line. But let me just say this, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things under the surface, and it's because some people made a decision, I want to do something. I don't want to just sit by and just allow this to continue. We're going to take it and take some steps to try to move the needle a little bit. And it is moving. The needle is moving. It's moving a little bit slower than perhaps we'd like it to, but we are seeing some changes take place, and I do believe in the future, especially as we start getting good people elected in good positions. I'm with Bob on that. I'll tell you what, I'm pleased with the candidate row that we've got now. It seemed like years ago we had to choose the best of the worst candidates. Now we choose the best of the best. And that's the way it ought to be. And I appreciate all of our candidates coming out and sharing their heart. And I want to give you a chance to talk with them a little bit. That's pretty much where we're at. Is there something else we want to add to that we got?
Did want to just let you know one other thing that we're planning right now. And by the way, we're asking for volunteers to help us. This gentleman right here helped us once before when we did a Public Safety Appreciation Day. Do any of you old enough to remember when we did that like 12 years ago? That's what I thought, young group. But anyway, this was down at the Transportation Plaza. Now, I know our former mayor remembers it because they had a 100-foot ladder set up in one of the fire trucks, and she climbed to the top of it.
Oh, that was for the Christmas parade.
No, you climbed the one at Transportation Plaza. You were in the Christmas parade in that same truck. But at any rate, we're going to do that again. And as a matter of fact, Michelle Lawrence back here and the sheriff's wife, Julie, did a fantastic job. You remember a couple of years ago when they had like 600 people show up for Public Safety Appreciation? This was due to the Lawrence, Kansas thing and some others where in Dallas, our public servants, our police especially, were being rather disrespected. And we needed to do something like that. And those two ladies stepped up and did that, and they've offered to help us in putting this together. And a lot of people in the community is going to help us. We've talked to the sheriff, we've talked to the police chief just today, and they're ready, willing, and able to help and set up static displays and so forth. All we need now is a date, a time, and a place. So any of you that want to help on that, and Rick has already said, hey, we can get the hamburgers, the hot dogs, and the Cokes, and he got them donated before, and he thinks he can get it done again. So if you want to help on any of these things, let us know. Doug, I'll let you wrap it up.
Arkansas Herald is proudly sponsored by Lloyd Auto Sales, 1814 Albert Pike, Hot Springs. You can call at 501-623-1717 or LloydsAutoSales.com. You need a car, Lloyd's is the place to go.
Welcome to Papa Murphy's. My name is Gloria Rand, and I am one of the owners of Papa Murphy's. Papa Murphy's is a take and bake pizza. So when you come into our store, we're going to make you a pizza that you choose from our menu, or you can design your own pizza. And we're going to serve it to you on a platter, on a cooking tray, and you're going to bake it in your oven. So it's home baked, and it's like it's homemade, fresh.
God bless you. All for $10. Can you believe that?
I love Papa Murphy's. Tell.
I love Papa Murphy's. I'm actually obsessed with Papa Murphy's. I love it. It's fresh. You can take it home. You can bake it at your leisure. And then there's no cleanup whatsoever. You bake it all in the tray. Love it.
We're located at 1412 Higdon Ferry, Suite E. We're in the shopping center across from Sam's.